Sup, my fellow homos? Hi, today's video isn't about Yandere Simulator, or rather, it's not focusing primarily on Yandere Simulator, but instead it's focusing on an alternative to it. I've praised this game in the past, but unfortunately I was one of the many few that has been manipulated into thinking that this game and its developer was a shining beacon in the Yandere Simulator genre of games. It seems that this genre is it's really cursed. I'm not gonna lie. Every person who has come in contact, in direct line of contact with Alex, seemed to have turned out to be either a huge piece of shit or just another alternative version of him. I'm looking at you, Mike Z. But anyway, what is or was Love Letter: My True Feelings? Well, that's what we're gonna find out. Love Letter: My True Feelings was a stealth action game inspired heavily by Yandere Simulator. Keep this in mind for later. It was being developed by the Love Letter team, which was led by our subject of the day, Dr. Appius. Apis? I don't know, please don't. I don't know how to say names. This project, as we know it now as Love Letter: My True Feelings, was first called Lovesick. Essentially, the game looked exactly like Yandere Simulator in the beginning stages, then teetered off and had artists volunteer to work on the project. At this stage, it was completely renamed and completely overhauled. It wasn't just a clone of Yandere Simulator. It started deviating and changing into its own thing, having a unique art style, trying to teeter away from what we know it to be of Yandere Simulator. The project itself started to garner eyes from around the internet, people essentially dogging on Yandere Simulator for taking so long to make, when someone essentially fixed a ton of major bugs and performance issues in less than 2 weeks. It was essentially a project that didn't seem like it could fail. Until it did. But we'll get into that very shortly. Everyone knew that at this stage, Love Letter was looking like it could dominate the internet and become the new Yandere Simulator. I mean, it did more good and got more done in 2 weeks than Alex has in several years. But this is where the story gets a bit complicated and a bit dark. Dr. Apis, the developer of the game, was allegedly grooming and sexually harassing people. But that's not all. Even though drama was pouring into Dr. Apis, drama seemed to have been pouring internally as well. This is the dark aspect of the story I was talking about. I got into contact with a few people regarding the behind the scenes of Love Letters, but we'll focus on them one by one as we go on along. First up, we have an artist by the name of ShortcakeEmoji who created the character for Bochan. And I managed to get their side of the story for this interview. And honestly, hearing their side of the story about how all that stuff happened with Dr. Apis really gave me a whole new perspective on things. In the past, I praised them for making the game they were making, but as it turns out, I was proven wrong again. It seems like anyone who has come into full contact with Alex in some way has ultimately met their end. But this is my video to make things right. I want to thank people who I've interviewed for these questions regarding their behavior and their malicious personality towards some of the volunteers and some of the artists. But with that out of the way, let's get on with the interview questions now, shall we? The interview I did between Shortcake revealed a lot of information I didn't know about regarding Dr. Apis and their behavior. They also provided screenshots which were very helpful with the video. With the interview, I managed to learn a lot, like what it was like working for Dr. Apis. They would describe it as first that it was nothing more but good interactions between them. They were actually the ones to ask to volunteer for Dr. Apis regarding the art and such. So you can imagine that they were passionate and wanted to make a true and good Yandere game, but unfortunately, they also described the final interaction they had with them as hollow. it was clear to me that they weren't going to learn from their criticism people had, or address anything that me and ex-volunteers have said about them, the team, and the development. They also sent me screenshots and DMs that they saved just before the total purge of the Discord server. With the information I gathered from this, it told me that at first, Dr. Apis was a good developer who wanted to make a Yan Sim game legitimately, wanted to make it really good that would be what the fans wanted. But because of their own dumbassery, at the end of their career on the internet turned into a hollow bastion of their former self. There's your Kingdom Hearts reference right there again. I promise the video is going to come out. I just need to play the game more. Furthering the interview, I asked Shortcake if they were given any sort of tasks like checklists in order to keep some order and to keep schedule regarding the game's art style. And the answer was no. They weren't given any tasks. In fact, it seems like the artists were never really considered as much at all. Which sucks because your game can be as fundamentally advanced in terms of coding, but without the art style that's appealing, or well, attractive to complement your coding, your game is gonna either look like shit or dog water dookie. For example, if it wasn't for the art style for Skullgirls, I'm pretty sure Skullgirls wouldn't have been remembered. I mean, yeah, it's got some good coding and it's got some good fundamental skills, but I honestly remember Skullgirls a lot more for the art style and the characters. We were given no tasks. In fact, Apis didn't really consider the artists at all. We were never given a clear indication on what to do at all, actually. I feel like games need a good art style in order to differentiate themselves and to stand out. And I feel like artists need to be appreciated and given attention just as much as coders do. Also, I think artists should also get paid for their art, even if they're volunteers. Remember, time is money. But, Dr. Apis didn't think that way. Also, regarding payment, I understand this is volunteer work, but were you ever paid / compensated for your art? None of the artists were ever compensated, ever. And all the things we made were in our free time. Never? Not even crediting in the description and such? We only got credit, but our socials were never linked. Now that's pretty fucking bullshit. I feel like as soon as you as a person turns down artists and deem their work as not even worth being compensated, yeah, you're just a vile human being. In my opinion anyways. I also managed to ask them about the drama aspect of the whole story. Shortcake felt sorry for participating in the raid of Cameron F305 and personally apologized to him. But as soon as members of the Discord found out about this, they were antagonized and kicked off, prompting them to leave and taking the character Bo-chan with them. But then the story got even more interesting when I asked them about why they took the character Bo-chan with them. I mean, obviously, it's their character, but I imagine it made things significantly harder for Dr. Apis to make anything regarding the character since Bo-chan was essentially the poster character for their game, and pretty much making a character from scratch as your poster child will probably take some time. Then they told me that Dr. Apis wanted to steal their character. Yes, you heard me right! See, Bo-chan is a character of Shortcake. Although only a few minor changes were made and suggested by the team, the character was entirely owned and created by Shortcake. The team behind the game had no hand in the design whatsoever. So let's recap. Not only did Dr. Apis not give a single fuck about the artist and wanting to pay them, but they also wanted to steal a character for their game that, let's face it, would have probably been monetized if it wasn't for the drama or the shit happening. I mean, to be honest, I'm seeing Yandere Simulator will also be monetized despite it taking 7 years to make. That game better be free or I swear to God. I swear to fucking God. The more and more I did research on this person, the more respect I started to have for Alex. Not a lot, like 0.5%. But you get what I mean. But now we get to the saucy part of the video. The sexual harassment and grooming allegations. In it, they would describe that the sexual harassment would happen while they were still on the team. This would link to a voice actor known as Sade, who was later found to be a... that word. I can't really say that word on YouTube anymore because I'm gonna get monetized. I'm gonna get demonetized, that's what I meant. Sade would sexually harass me and multiple other women on the server. And even with this, Apis wanted to keep them around. At this moment, the story started to get way more darker, and honestly, I'm amazed at how much the volunteers had to put up with. Regarding the child grooming, it seems to be that Dr. Apis was grooming a victim that goes by the name of Maggie Moon. It was at this moment where things started to push inwards and started to back Dr. Apis into a corner where they would admit to everything. Whether he apologized internally was a mystery to me and Shortcake, because at the time they were already off the team when they found out what Dr. Apis did. But yeah, this was the end of my first interview with ShortcakeEmoji. I want to thank them so much for taking time out of their day to just take time to let me interview them. But let's get on to the next interviewee. After interviewing Shortcake, I went to interview the original Bee, a voice actress who was the main voice for Bo-chan. She was also the main voice for Bo-chan, or at the very least, what Dr. Apis had in mind. It was very confusing. It was confusing and strange even for her. Another thing that's also confusing is the fact that Dr. Apis used the audition voice clips for their video. They didn't ask Bee to redo her lines, which is pretty weird since you kind of want the VAs to redo their lines, but this time with a much better understanding as to what character they're playing, or with the better direction as to what the developer wants the character to sound like. I know this is the beginning stages for the game, and that this was a huge problem, but planning and clear communication is a massive thing that companies and game developers need to take in order for these games to perform smoothly and efficiently. Good scheduling and good communication go a very long way, believe it from a fucking college student. It's also good to clear up confusion amongst the people and volunteers working on the company or working on the project alongside you. Another reason why it's good to have your VAs redo their lines after they find out what kind of character they're playing is because the trailer is supposed to showcase your game in the best light possible. i.e., an example of this is every E3 game that eventually disappoints everyone in the visual department. I'm looking at you, Watch Dogs 1. But going back to the interview, B told me that the entire time they were in the server and interacted with Dr. Apis, they were always very distant and very disinterested in the goings and issues of the crew, unless there was drama going on in the fan server that included them or their choices. At this point, I started to notice that Dr. Apis was just looking out for themselves, and it absolutely sucks because I imagine this happening to Alex and not to Love Letter. But hey, I guess the fucking universes are merging, and I don't even know it. Maybe Chris Chan was right, you know? The universes are fucking merging together. B also told me that when she was kicked off the project, she revoked her permission to use her voices in the video. A permission she never gave in the beginning, by the way. So already Dr. Apis wanted to steal art and voice work. Fortunately for her, she was lucky that they took her voice and audio out. Unfortunately, this wasn't the case for the others. For example, others like Shortcake and even a minor who was doing music. Now, I don't know about you, but using minors, even as volunteers and not paying them, is a pretty shitty and terrible thing to do, and also I'm pretty sure it's illegal. But hey, I guess this is what I got myself into when I decided to cover this story. Just shitty people doing shitty things. Speaking of getting myself into deeper shit, I was just about to wrap up the interview with B when she mentioned a couple of things regarding weird behaviors of other crew members that she didn't add in her statement. So, here's an exclusive scoop from the Daily Noble Bugle, I guess. She was describing that people would start mimicking each other to weird amounts, and she would start doing an evil laugh, and everyone in the call would start doing it alongside her. At first, it was weird, but she brushed it off and then jokingly said that she could do a realistic meow. And then everyone chimed in again. It seems like people were really wanting to suck up to Dr. Apis because of their fame at the time. Another reason why I think people were sucking up to him was because of the following. The last one that really cemented that bad feeling was when Dr. Apis complained about not having a Nintendo Switch. I joked about it saying something like, "I know, right? Imagine being poor." But suddenly everyone was offering to buy one for them. The voice actresses, the graphic designers, the artists. So yeah, some weird shit was going on in that server, some weird cult-like shit. She also advises people who want to know more about the inappropriate behaviors of Dr. Apis to read her statement on the subject. This will be in the description down below, so make sure you read that. Wow, the camera gets really dark when I'm up close. By the way, I hope you guys like the new camera and the new fade. Look at me, I look like fucking Bangalore from for Apex Legends. Overall, people were kicked out of the server for not doing anything deserving of it as well. It seems that the rules in the servers were never clear and were never made clear. Dr. Apis and the others would sort of implement a sort of strike system that wasn't even a thing until the first instance of it was found out when they kicked a person. A misogynistic person. All in all, this server seemed to have been a mess, and it seemed like the whole experience of meeting Dr. Apis was alright at first, but then turned pretty problematic the more you knew them. Also, it seems like this wasn't the first time Dr. Apis tried shenanigans like this, and will probably not be their last. So be careful out there when it comes to being invited to a Discord server, please, for the love of God. That's why I don't use Discord for other than just talking to my actual real life friends. But that was my interview with B. Overall, she was kind and gave me a lot of helpful information for this video. Once again, their links and their social will be in the link in the description down below, so please make sure to check them out. But what about Dr. Apis and Love Letter? Well, let's explore more of that in the next part now, shall we? Love Letter was a product of a market that was missing a rival game to Yandere Simulator, and this market was filled with the game that we know called Love Letter. It was an opportunity that became a literal nightmare stretching from sexual harassment and grooming allegations to disrespecting coworkers and volunteers to attempted stealing of assets such as art and voice work. Holy shit! But what happened to Dr. Apis? Well, he stated in a now deleted video, a now deleted channel actually, the reason why Love Letter was cancelled was due to constant toxic drama. And although this is true, it was mostly from inside of the server for the majority and even on their side. Overall, from this interview, from gathering information, I can just see that Dr. Apis was a manipulator and was only looking out for themselves. When push came to shove and people started calling them out for what they were doing with their coworkers and the behavior of other coworkers as well, they essentially deleted their presence and ran away like a coward. They also deleted their channel and wanted to brush off all the shit that happened like it was nothing and started uploading Let's Play channels. Unfortunately, I have no evidence of this, but you're gonna have to believe me because I saw the channel right before all this shit was going on. But yeah, you can imagine how him uploading Let's Play videos on his channel. You can imagine how that ended. But going back to the video, I praised them in the past for essentially filling the void in, and most of the internet wanted for an actual good Yandere Simulator game. But after learning more and more regarding the allegations and after talking to people who were actually in the server and in contact with them, it turns out that Dr. Apis was a coward and a selfish developer. He's just as bad as Alex, and that's unfortunate because I wanted a game that would rival Yandere Simulator. But unfortunately, it was plagued by toxicity and the developer being a complete douchebag. It really was like an alternative reality Alex in a way. And unfortunately, we don't know where Dr. Apis went. We don't know if he had any other aliases. We don't know if he ran away to Twitter or anything. We don't know until the time comes and we catch them in a lie. As for Dr. Apis, what happened to them? Well, seems like after deleting every video on their channel, they seem to have disappeared off of the internet and has been in hiding ever since. But I have a sneaking suspicion that somehow the universe will attract them again to the internet for some more degeneracy. And when they do come back, you know your boy is gonna be there to capture that son of a bitch. I'm gonna go all Dog the Bounty Hunter on them, but minus the unsuccessful bounty of the dead body that authorities literally found in less than a few days than he did in like 2 months, I think. Special thanks to the people I've interviewed into this video. Unfortunately, I couldn't get Stanpai to interview, but I'm still gonna put his Twitter down in the description down below. But yeah, special thanks to the people who I've interviewed in this video. It was my first time conducting an interview, and even though it went smoothly, I feel like I have much to learn when it comes to asking questions. But again, a huge thanks to the people who agreed to let me interview them. I managed to work on my social skills for the very first time and actually conduct an interview with the facts from real people rather than from a page on Wikipedia or some shit like that. My heart goes out to all of those affected by Dr. Apis and their other volunteers who have harmed others in some way. But yeah, that's the tragic end of Love Letter My True Feelings, a promised product with a nightmare developer who is now running away free and we don't know where. But hey, if they come back on the internet, you know your boy is gonna be capturing that son of a bitch in 1080p 60 FPS goodness. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoy, and I'll see you guys when I see you guys. This is a very long video. I hope you enjoy it and you leave a like. I don't know if you want to do that. But yeah, that was the tragic end of Love Letter My True Feelings. See you next time.